nervous, on the surface I look fine. My brain feels heavy, my traumatized mind. And I'm so tired, I can't feel my eyes. Whoa, whoa. I'm petty, but I know how to lie. I feel feelings that I can't describe. I'm not breathing, but I'm still alive. Whoa, whoa.
Shout out to Neoliberal Tears for this.
Shout out to Twitter/X user Neoliberal Tears for resurfacing this clip.
Neoliberal Tears commented at the top of the show, "What happened to my music?" One of my favorite commenters. Somebody has so much affection for me.
Keep it in mind. Prepare for a holiday season of Neoliberal Tears.
Hello, and welcome to Nightcap with Neoliberal Tears, where I, Neoliberal Tears, recap some of the news you might have missed in the left cinematic universe, independent left, and the establishment left. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. So I wanted to dive more into the question of, which I think is on a lot of people's minds, and that is whether or not the Democratic Party can be taken over from within, whether it can be hollowed out, and kind of like a Trojan horse, if you can wrestle that into the ground and change it into the kind of party we need and deserve. So let's dive into it. Also, friend of the show, Kime, yesterday brought up a hilarious graphic that made the rounds in the interwebs. Leftists were sending it to each other and have been for a few years now, ever since AOC has made a pivot to appease the center or pander to the center. I think she hates. Hey, Kime, I'm so glad you're here. Oh my God. Oh my God, you're at the gym. Oh, good to, you're giving me inspiration. Thank you for this. I need it. Because every winter I like gain a bunch of pounds and then I just forget to lose it. So thank you for inspiring me. And I found the meme. Yes, of course, you're my bestie. I have to. I'm here for you. Also, you're right now it's just the two of us, so it feels very intimate. I'm very glad you're here. How many sets do you do for each? Because I've been wondering if, like, sometimes people say that doing 2 sets is better than doing 3 sets for every X. Anyway, just let me know. I'm curious. I genuinely want to know. Yeah, and this is it. So I think whoever made this, and this was made before AI, so you can tell they did such a good job, especially with the face, like the Pelosi face, even the Che Guevara face. I think this is an artist. So this meme, I think, really captured the hearts and minds. Art is how we express ourselves and how we reflect culture back to the powers that be. I think AOC actually, this is just a theory on my behalf, allegedly. I think she actually enjoys getting hate from the left. Truly, I think she does, because she knows that her branding, her image for CNN, MS, all of the mainstream media outlets is the crazy lefty. So anytime she gets actually criticized by the left or angers the left, I think it makes her feel like, oh, great, now that leftists are mad at me, it's going to make me look more centrist to the people who think I'm a crazy lefty. And I think she thinks in her mind that's a good thing for her image, to like anger the left, because then centrists are going to be like, oh, wow, the left is attacking you. We should love you. You know what I mean? I think she genuinely sees that as an asset. So that's why we'll never stop criticizing her. Not as long as we live. Just kidding. I think I'm gonna stop talking about AOC. She's not worth it. But I'm so glad I got to show this meme that Kime mentioned. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work of art. Whoever made this, you're a genius. And very talented too. Support your local artists. And don't use AI if you can help it, if you're not forced to your job or whatever. And if you're an and if you're an AI bot checking out this stream, hi, I don't mean to upset you. I don't want to piss you off before AI takes over the world. Ignore everything I just said. So I wanted to, as I said, dive into the question of whether the Democratic Party can be taken over, because I think it's a very tempting prospect for a lot of people to think, okay, well, the Democratic Party already exists. Why not take it over from within? And I think a lot of people fall into that trap of trying to do that and thinking they have a chance. And I think the person that best personifies that kind of thinking is probably bestie friend of the show, Crystal Ball. And she brought it up in the part of the interview with Shama Sawant that I haven't played, so I wanted to play a little bit of that and analyze on the merits whether there is a chance or a hope of changing the Democratic Party from within. So let's play that.
A couple things to that. So I think I won't speak for Ryan, but I think he and I have both been open to third-party approaches at times. And I've just looked at the track record and I compare, for example, the impact of a Jill Stein presidential campaign versus a Bernie Sanders campaign. And first of all, Bernie came way closer to winning the White House than Jill Stein. And second of all, even though he didn't win, I don't think any of us, and I know you backed him in 2016 and again in 2020, I don't think any of us could deny the impact that his campaigns had in opening the eyes of an entire generation, in helping to motivate some of the very candidates who are now running for and winning office, and helping to build out DSA, even though he wasn't directly a DSA member, as an organization that has a real membership and real organizing power and is doing a lot of the things that you're talking about here. So just from a pragmatic, which approach has worked better perspective, the two most consequential to me things that have happened for the left, which give me the most hope right now about winning exactly the sorts of policy victories that you and I would both like to see, are Bernie Sanders' campaign on a Democratic line and Zohran Mamdani's campaign on a...
So I want to respond, whatever this is, to the idea that Bernie came very, very close to winning the presidency in 2020. I think that's... Ryan, are you here? Can you tell us what it is?
It's just false,
No, it's not false.
I completely agree, Ryan. Thank you for taking the words out of my mouth. I completely agree, because I just looked this up to make sure. Bernie in 2020 won 9 states. 9 out of 50 plus, Democrats abroad, which is its own category, but he only won 9. Of course, this is because he dropped out while this was during peak COVID, so he wanted to give Biden a leg up and drop out early and give him sort of a boost to the, or an easy win without much of a contention or a fight over the votes. But still, 9 states out of 50 is not very close, and especially when you compare it to 2016. When Bernie won 23 states. Actually, did he win 23 states? I want to make sure. Bernie Sanders, 2016. Primary wins. '22. My apologies. So he won 22 states in 2016, and he won 9 states in 2020. he went backwards. So I think there's a misconception there that, oh, he just came very, very close and it was within reach in 2020, and then he didn't win, and that's why you should keep investing in Democrats. I think that's not the right way to analyze whether Bernie actually had a chance. And also, Democrats have a super delegate system that, when push comes to shove, if Bernie for somehow, some way did win, I don't know, 40 states or 45, which we never got to that point. But if he did, the super delegates would have come in and said, okay, no, not happening. So we never really got to see if Bernie would have become the presidential nominee. I think everything we know about the DNC and the super delegate system and the results on the ground of how many states he actually was able to win tells us that he never really got close to becoming the presidential nominee. It's just that he ended his campaign before the Democratic Party could have shown itself and revealed its true colors. So I think what's really pervasive about this idea that, you can run as a Democratic Party candidate and you can win the nomination is that Bernie raised so much money, sometimes $40 million a month, from his primary campaign, from working class people who believed that he could win the nomination and would only give that money because they believed he had a shot. And the Democratic Party preyed on those people, preyed on their hopes and their dreams, thinking that Bernie could. The entire facade is to make you think that you can actually, that a regular working class person who has a progressive, positive agenda could actually become the nominee. That's a lie. That's theatrics to squeeze people out of $40 million a month that goes right back into the DNC. So I do take issue with this framing that Bernie got really close and he just, and it just didn't materialize for whatever reason, or, blah, blah, blah. No, he didn't get close. He won 9 states. And I get it, Jill Stein didn't win any states, but that's still not, at the end of the day, they both didn't, neither of these candidates had a chance, I think, in their respective races. So that's my quibble.
Democratic line, and now the movement of DSA and DSA aligned candidates who are running on the Democratic line. You mentioned the FDR example earlier. Obviously, FDR was a Democrat. So why is it that approach is wrong when, to me, so far, it's just been vastly more successful than trying to go it alone and build something from scratch? My view of the Democratic Party is that it's basically a sort of, like, you seem to have a view that it's like a thing, like a very powerful, tangible thing. My view of it is more, it's a kind of empty shell with ballot access run by a bunch of consultants who can and are being overthrown because the base of the party doesn't agree with them. And because they.
And that's, I think, the most pervasive part and the most tempting and seductive part of that pitch, is saying that the Democratic Party is just an empty shell. It's just a ballot line that you can use to get into power and actually affect real change that people deserve for the people you love. And I think a lot of people get seduced by that exact argument, that the Democratic Party is just an empty shell, or a bunch of consultants meeting, having a bi-weekly meeting every 2 months to talk about what to leak to Politico or the New York Times. And that really, is, if you get in there, you can change the Democratic Party in your own image. You can force it to bend to your will. And I think that kind of argument sidelines the entire corporate apparatus, the billionaire donors, the bundlers, the people who behind the scenes, who have actual weight in terms of which policies get written, which policies get a vote on the floor. It ignores that entire shadow operation of the Democratic Party that is well-oiled, with tons of money, because we know this about rich people. They like having their hands in both parties. Is that the term? They like having their greedy little hands in both on both sides of the aisle, so that they have full control. They don't have to commit to one side or the other, because they win no matter what. They want to win no matter what. They want their policies to pass no matter what. And I think they have been winning. The Democratic Party has been delivering, and the Republican Party. They've been delivering to their constituencies, rich people, very, very effectively. The only thing that's different is the messaging between how the Democratic Party sells its bullshit, Cobra subsidies, corporate giveaways, and the Republican Party and how it sells itself. I think it's really because I think there's broad, unanimous discontent with the two-party system. It even got in 2024 a nickname from mainstream media, when they did focus groups with disaffected voters. They called these people double haters, people who hate both parties viciously, like viscerally and viciously. They call them double haters because it's such a widespread phenomenon now to hate both political parties. And I think the off-ramp for that, for salespeople who want to rope you back into the Democratic Party machinery, is to say, don't be emotional about this. You're thinking of the Democratic Party as like a person, an individual who betrayed you and betrayed everything you love, but really, it's just an empty vessel. Kime here has come out as a double hater. I'm a double hater too. Hey, give it up for double haters. Hello. We should have a double haters party. I know, I have so many ideas. I'm a fountain of of ideas. No, but like, I think this is the strategy for people on both sides of the aisle, salespeople, strategists. How do we bring those people who left? Because most people, if I think I've showed this graph before, that if not voting was its own party, it would be the largest political party as of 2024. Most people who are eligible to vote choose not to, because they are so disgusted and fed up with the two-party system. So the trick for people like Krystal and Republican strategists is, how do we sell the Democratic Party or the Republican Party? How do we sell it to those people, to the double haters? And I think one of the arguments that's really seductive is this idea that, oh, the Democratic Party, it's not what you think. It's just an empty vessel. And you can influence it. You can change it. I think it's very, very tempting for people to want to believe that. They want to believe that they have power, agency, that they can make a difference if they just got themselves into the Democratic Party or threw themselves into the process. And I think that's selling people false hopes. I really do. What do the gay horses eat? Hey! I love being gay. You know, I'm really not, I'll never hold back on how gay I actually am. Thank you, Kime. From Seeking Truth in K9, my other #1 bestie, saying that one can be a part of the Democratic Party and can change it is very similar to saying that capitalism can be reformed, or the concept of liberal Zionism. Such a good point. And I'm so happy you actually analogized it to liberal Zionism, because really both of these, capitalism and liberal Zionism, they really think that if they just changed the marketing, if they just changed the messaging around and not the substance, that they can resiliently survive any backlash, any pushback. And I think both of those are very adaptable in terms of changing their marketing over the years and reconfigure, rebrand. Rebrand is probably the term I was looking for. But I think it's very seductive, especially if you're young and naive and you want to make a difference. Let's say you care about Palestine. I think we all do. And you're looking at third parties. This is how I think. I do not know Chris. I can't say this enough. I don't know her. But I really think I understand her philosophy, so I'm just explaining what I think it is. She's doing the math, or reverse engineering, from the presumption that, okay, let me look at who has come the closest in terms of achieving actual electoral power. Third parties in decades, maybe even centuries, never even got close to achieving political power. So choosing that avenue is a waste of time. It's a waste of time if you actually are looking to affect actual change. So if you're reverse engineering from that, no third parties, then what you're left with is, okay, so I guess I have to join one of the two. Which party would I have a better shot at infiltrating into the inside and changing it from within? The Republican Party, which is overtly racist, overtly hateful towards immigrants and against everything you believe, or the Democratic Party, which has a base that is open-minded, a liberal voting base, people, maybe nice, sweet people who genuinely care about others. I think someone like Crystal believes it's an easier feat than starting a third party from scratch, which the results are showing that it won't succeed. So I think in a very mathematical way, or a scientific quote unquote way, Crystal has led herself to believe, my opinion, allegedly, that the Democratic Party can be changed from within, or has a much better shot at changing than a third party succeeding. And I think there's a flawed logic in that, but I'll continue to play the conversation. Actually, I'll see what you guys wrote. From Kima here, same. I'm old school. I still call myself gay. No offense to the queers. Oh, yeah. No, we're not starting beef here. You can be both. You can be both. Why have to choose? We are all so many things, all at the same time. What's that movie called? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's what I am. So Ryan Graham, if you're thinking of trying to hide from me, just know I'm everywhere, all at once.
It's just false.
It's not false.
It's not false. You should watch out. Watch out, Ryan.
They want to support the type of candidates that we like. So why are you committed to pursuing a strategy that, in my view, in recent history, has not been nearly as successful as the DSA approach?
Well, obviously, a lot of the challenges that we face is because of the absolute demise of militancy in the labor movement. So, the conclusions you're drawing, in my view, are very impressionistic and superficial, because it's a question of what is actually needed to win the kinds of victories that we need to win. And that is why you have to look at history. You cannot look at Kashana, if I could just, can I finish?
If I could just pause you there because this is, to me, what is so exciting about the DSA moment, because I agree with you. I mean, I think Bernie never had a prayer because there was no movement really that had been built behind him. The left was so incredibly weak. And so when I look at DSA now, I think they're up at like 126,000 members. They're able to throw their weight around. It's a real membership organization doing things in the community. I look at this and I go, oh my God, this is what we've been needing to build for a very long time. So explain to me why you see that differently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the membership is important. That is why I'm trying to say you're conflating the consciousness of ordinary people versus what the Democratic Party represents. And that's what I want to come to. And so as far as the membership is concerned, yeah, many members are very, very, very progressive and maybe even subscribe to revolution. There's lots of DSA members who are canvassing with us. There were DSA members canvassing with us yesterday at our volunteer day. That's not the issue. The issue is what strategy actually works. And as far as the impact of Bernie Sanders, yes, you said, I supported Bernie Sanders. We campaigned, we door knocked for him. And I spoke at both of his rallies in the Seattle area, both in 2016 and 2020. And yes, that all of the message of the political revolution that really resonated with working people, because working people are sick and tired. So yes, that's the conscience of the working class. But the main feature of the today of our times is the chasm between the consciousness that has risen and the desire for fight back and the leadership that's on offer. And so all the picture that you painted, in my view, is not actually indicative of what's actually happening. I'll tell you what's actually happening. Even despite the progressive, Democratic Progressive Caucus, whatever, more and more progressive people being elected, AOC and other squad members being elected, what have we seen since that whole time? We have seen the breaking of the railroad workers' strike, where only one Democrat in the House, Rashida Tlaib, voted against that. Every single other Democrat, like AOC, voted to break the railroad workers' strike. During that same time that we are supposed to be celebrating all of these elections, we're seeing the genocide being launched and being funded. We are seeing ICE terror. We are seeing zero fight back against Trump. And that is a big part of the anger against the Democratic Party, is that they're not fighting against Trump. That is also a big part of the support for my campaign against Adam Smith, which is not only that Adam Smith himself has been an instigator. He voted to create ICE. He's voted to fund ICE repeatedly to the tune of $115 billion, but also because they're angry at the Democratic Party as a whole for not fighting against all of these ills. So, in the same period that all of this consciousness has risen, in Congress, you are seeing horrific things happen. And let me again say that the minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. So my question to all of these people who are, like yourself, you're subscribing to this approach, my question is, why is it that not one single concrete victory can be pointed to at the congressional level? And also that at that same time, the genocide act has actually happened. Why is it that you don't have a single Congress member saying, the progressives or squad members saying, I'm going to bring forward this bill and to end all military aid, and I'm going to campaign across the nation to mobilize working class people. And that is the main thing. Mobilizing working class people is the core component of what we need to do, which is what we don't see the DSA doing. And I don't agree with you that it's the same thing that they're doing. No, they're not. They're not actually mobilizing the working class in the way that we are doing. They have membership, yes, but they're not actually bringing the mass movements to bear. And as far as your contention that the Democratic Party is an empty shell, let's be clear. It is not just about the structure of this thing called the Democratic Party. It is about actual class forces under capitalism. And the fundamental question is not even about the Democratic Party and whether that can be reformed. Yes, that's the question. But the primary question is, can you actually win the kind of victories that we're talking about on the basis of not carrying out an all-out class war back against the billionaire class and their representatives? That's the question. In my view, that answer is no. And that is, all of history, that all the examples I gave you, they all show that decisively. In fact, many of the victories in Western Europe were won in the wake of the workers' revolution in Russia, which was obviously a revolution won by Marxists like myself. And so that is the background for anything that we can win. It's actually bringing the revolt of the working class to bear.
And just add on to some of the things. Actually, let me read a comment first from Bestie Seeking Truth in Canines. Crystal is petit. Oh, I love doing the French accent. Hold on. Crystal is petit bourgeoisie, and her material conditions form the basis of her reformism. I think that's part of it. I also think she's, I think it's definitely a part of it. But and I also think there are other people who maybe aren't as successful, wealthy, or petit bourgeoisie, that I really tried to butcher it, that still look at the two-party system and say, I want to make real change. I don't want to waste my time joining a third-party effort that's going to go nowhere. And I think that's the seductive part, that I think goes beyond Crystal. I think people are genuinely activists who are telling themselves, well, do I want to just sit around and try to make a Green Party happen, which will never happen? Or do I want to actually be in there being part of the people who make choices. Part of power. Do you want power or do you want to critique power? That stupid ass meme. And I think that's tempting to a lot of people to look at someone like Zoran and say, oh, that maybe the Democratic Party could change. I hope to prove by the end of this stream to anyone who might be tempted by those ideas that it's at least, right, in my opinion, not possible by design. But I think to a mathematician or a scientist-oriented person like Crystal, who sort of looks at the lay of the land or looks at what's in front of her and says, okay, where are the people? Where are the members? Where are the movements? Where is the power? And try to work from that, or reverse engineering, what the best path forward is. I would suggest that we to look at 2021, when Biden was elected and Democrats had a majority in the House and a majority in the Senate. There was a DSA written strategy, inside strategy, to at least force a floor vote on a massively popular legislation, 80% of Democratic base voter support, Medicare for all. And DSA, as soon as Democrats got into power, took a back seat to the Biden administration and did not wield their power to prevent the striking down of a railroad worker strike. They didn't use their leverage. They didn't organize mass rallies against the Biden administration, because at the end of the day, they were populated, the DSA, I mean, the leadership structure, not individual members. They were populated by brown noses and careerists and people who wanted to be pat on the head by the party in power. And it's seductive to them to believe that, we don't need a vote on Medicare for all. Maybe we'll get it 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Or maybe it goes to the point that Seeking Truth and K9 said, that a lot of these people who find themselves somehow in leadership positions at organizations like the DSA that are democratically aligned see their job when Democrats are in power as, because of their class position, to be almost like executive assistants to the Democratic Party and to manage discontent from DSA ranks while never actually doing anything to force the Biden administration to deliver on the things they promised, like public option, $15 wage, take a pick. The DSAers, as soon as Democrats were in power, I think even Cori Bush said something to the effect of, we don't vote as a bloc, we vote alone. So what's the point of running we saw what happened with the DSA strategy. I don't see anyone promising things would be different if Democrats took back the majorities. We have a scientific evidence of how DSA behaves when Democrats are in power, hold the levers, that when they're there, and what they use their political capital for. And it turns out it's nothing. Members do their own thing. They rest on their laurels, and nothing changes. That's why I think, as much as Crystal likes to say that a third party is a failed strategy, the DSA has proven to be a failed strategy. And I don't see any analysis that suggests where the DSA can move forward. I see some people talk about, maybe there should be a socialist caucus, and then they can vote as a bloc. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to see more evidence before I would say that DSA is a winning strategy for anybody. From Seeking Truth and K9, was Ryan having a dry mouth in front of Shama due to nervousness? Ryan, let me ask you, were you nervous?
It's just false,
But
false, false,
it's not false.
You sound kind of defensive, Ryan. I'm I'm inclined to believe you're lying. You're not lying, are you?
It's just false,
But
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
Oh, so defensive all the time. All the time.
And can that be done? So that's the primary question. Can that be done? Can that kind of class war back?
And I have to, okay, I just have to throw one more thing. Sorry, Shama. Sorry, bestie. There is an independent running in Nebraska, an independent candidate. His name is Dan Osborne. He's a Democrat in every way, but he's running as an independent because the Democratic Party brand in the Midwest is in the toilet. And I don't see people like Ryan or Crystal ever criticizing him for not joining DSA, not being a DSA member, asking him to defend not being in DSA. Why are you running as independent and not with the DSA? The DSA has much more members. Why aren't you running DSA? They reserved all of that intense questioning for Shama. What is it? Why? Why not hold that? If you're upset that people are running independent as an independent candidate and not through DSA because you believe that's the strategy, why aren't you criticizing other candidates running independent as well? I don't know. Ryan, is it because Shama called you out as a snake oil salesman?
It's just false,
But
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
I don't think it's false. I think you're a liar. I think you're a liar, Ryan Grimm.
It's just false,
But
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
Okay. I think that was a lie too. From Seeking Truth in Canine's Day, the DSA leadership and talking head class start with publishing Jacobin and then end up on private boat parties with the nation. 100%. 100%. It's a social club to them. I know that that term gets thrown around a lot, but it really is like, you know how old people rich old people look for hobbies or clubs to be a part of, to pass the time, to do something as a hobby. I definitely think that the people running Jacobin, and they are people who are so horny for access. They want to be close to congressional representatives. They want to be in communication with congressional representatives because it makes them feel like they're close to celebrities, and that's very intoxicating to people. And if you don't believe me, just look at what did the DSA accomplish when Biden was in power. Actually, I would argue that the subservience to the Biden administration by DSA and the refusal to really advocate for any strategy that challenges congressional Democrats to pass legislation that we want to see when Democrats have majorities, the refusal to do that, I think made a lot of people at the top of the echelons in the Democratic Party, I think it made them feel, and I mean, some of them did say this, like Ron Klain. They said, oh, the genocide in Gaza, it's not that bad. People are still going to vote for us because we're the only other option other than Republicans. I think that kind of subservience has led Democrats at the top to believe they could get away with literal murder and genocide and still have the support of organizations like DSA. And I think that's an incredible failure on DSA's part. You're letting an abusive party structure get away with murder by not challenging them when they still have legislative power. Right, Ryan?
It's just false,
But
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
We'll agree to disagree, Ryan. We'll agree to disagree.
Against the billionaire class? Can that be done from a party of the billionaires Maybe, maybe not. In my view, it can't be done. But that to concretize that question, my question is this: even if you run as a Democrat, you can run as a Democrat. Maybe I could have run as a Democrat. That's not the question. The question is, would you be able to do the kind of class war for the working class that I did in a way that does not make you enemy number one of the Democratic establishment? No, that's the answer. The answer to that question is no. So whether even if you ran as a Democrat, let's concretize this question. All these new people who are now almost, the November election is happening, but they're almost guaranteed to get into Congress. The question is, can they do what's needed in order to fight for the working class and not earn the ire of the Democratic establishment? No, the answer is no.
Right.
And that is why AOC's quote, AOC was very truthful when she said that if she did what was demanded of her by the working class, that would have caused reputational and relational harm for her among the powers that be. As far as working people is concerned, your reputations are going to be, you'll be an overnight hero. Even to this day, I have people coming up to me in grocery stores and saying that thank you for fighting for this or that. But as far as the Democratic establishment is concerned, no, they hate me. But I wear their hate of me as a badge of honor, because for me, it's a confirmation that I am doing something right. So fundamentally, the question is, can you actually win the kinds of victories that we can win, we need to win without going to class war back against the billionaires and their representatives? No, the answer is no.
And back to your camp.
Silence, Ryan. Silence, liberal. So I wanted to thank you all. Thank you, Shama. Thank you, Besti. Thank you, Crystal. Ryan, I'm not going to thank you. You don't deserve it. You can thank yourself. I wanted to also respond to another seductive pitch from this idea that you can take over the Democratic Party. And that's that you can push out the crazy corporatists, the fuckers. You can push them out and you can take over their place. And I saw Crystal saying something to that effect. So let's read that. Here. She said, the Dem Party, hold on, let me see. The Democratic Party will be so much better and more popular when these people drop the act and just become Republicans. So she's responding to a Democratic Congress member saying something shitty. And Crystal's response is this idea that, oh, maybe people like Hillary Scholten who are, conservative Democrats. All Democrats are mostly conservative, mostly all Democrats. You know what I mean? That they can be pushed out, that they can be made to switch parties, that she can, that Hillary Scholten is going to wake up tomorrow and say, fuck this Democratic Party, I'm going to join the Republicans. Or that someone like John Fetterman is going to say, fuck the Democratic Party, I'm going to join the Republicans. And then people like Crystal are going to be like, yes, now we're in charge because John Fetterman left the Democratic Party. There's a power vacuum and I'm going to take over. That's the argument, which I think is worth noting, in my opinion, is also not happening. Why am I saying that? Because John Fetterman said he's not leaving. He's not leaving the Democratic Party. Let's play this interview with the ogre. Let's listen to him, or try to make sense of anything he says. Can't make any promises that we will understand him, but we can try. We can try.
And Senator, you have been outspoken, especially recently, about the direction of the Democratic Party. You said you would leave the party if it adopted an anti-Israel stance. Are you saying that right now you still view the Democratic Party as pro-Israel?
No, I don't. I see the Democratic Party as some people are trying to have it both ways, where they won't really be willing to go the full side the way with the left. But I think overall, without a doubt, there's very few that I'm aware of that are proud to stand with Israel through everything. And if you have to criticize anyone in that circumstances, Many of them will pick Israel as someone to criticize. For me, I think Iran is the one issue. Hamas, Hezbollah, and these kinds of nations that are helping them through it is two. Israel is our special ally. And now I don't know why the Democratic Party continues to criticize him. And they use terms like genocide, or, people aren't calling out the mayor in New York, had zero authority to do that and say things that only was just inflame thing. And it was a day or two before, then someone was stabbed, walking out of a synagogue.
And Senator, nearly half of House.
Okay. Wow. Look at Shrek. So, first of all, I want to react to this graphic. Look at this. It says Fetterman, Democratic Party is no longer pro-Israel. Can you imagine if that was true? Can you imagine? Oh my God. We're not allowed to just deal with the real reality. We have to deal with this fake reality that John Fetterman is describing. I shouldn't call him Shrek. Shrek is lovely. I love Shrek. Shrek, no offense to you if you're seeing this. Don't sue me for defamation. Okay. So Fetterman here is saying, okay, let's let this play out.
Democrats voted this month to cut off aid to Israel. Isn't that your red line?
100 people voted for it only because Democrats are out of power and they knew it's not going to pass. So fake vote, fake.
No, that's not my red line, but it's not something I'm surprised for overall. The one thing that I've read that was more now, Leader Jeffries put out a letter, saying that he's going to vote against that. And what I read in Axios, they said that brought maybe 30 to 40 people along with him on that. So if you start reaching now, maybe approaching 150 Democrats, that's outrageous. We're the Democratic Party. Where is the only country in that region that has our kinds of values and protects women and minorities and allows people to live their lives, free speech and for all.
Can you imagine if John Fetterman runs for president? I would love to fucking see that. Fuck it. Do it. They did it with Biden. Biden wasn't that far off in terms of having peanuts for brains. An inability to form coherent sentences. Fuck it. Democrats, run John Fetterman for president. Do it. Maybe that's going to get us the boost for third parties that we need. Oh, what a mess. What a mess.
All those things. That's just Israel. And now why are you standing up for these regimes or these kinds of organizations that are trying to destroy Israel, whether it's Hamas or whether Hezbollah or Iran, as Iran continues to execute just protesters that just want democracy? More and more Democrats decide to just criticize Israel. Look at that mess in Michigan too. El Sayed, essentially a pro-Hamas, person in Michigan. And now there's another poll.
This is the Democratic Party, everybody. He's in the Senate. He's not even a stupid House member that they can sideline. No. He's a senator. A Democratic senator. So he's not leaving the Democratic Party. He's not leaving, Crystal. He's not leaving. I would love nothing more for the Democratic Party to somehow, some way have, I guess, a self-deportation, self-exodus of all the billionaires and the pieces of shit, the Zionists like him. But all of them are just gonna leave the Democratic Party vehicle, and all of a sudden, the DSA left factions are going to take over the helm, take over the steering wheel, and they're just going to say, we're going to take it from here. They're not leaving. John Fetterman is not leaving the Democratic Party. As long as you stay in this fucked up dynamic of trying to take the Democratic Party over, you're going to have to contend with this. One of many.
Pew had a poll. 44% of American Muslims show Hamas in positive light. Now, that's distressing to me, too.
Great. He's spewing out Islamophobic talking points. Great. Great for the Democratic Party brand. We have people who are, at least in rhetoric, against the genocide. And we have pro-genocide Democrats. Big tent, everybody. Room for all of your points of view. All of you can be a part of the big genocide tent. From Seeking Truth in Canines, special ally playing to the trope of chosen people. He's so fucking stupid. I really don't know how they deal with him. Like, do they just have a teleprompter carried around everywhere he goes to sort of... No, I'm sure he can't read. Does he have an earpiece where they tell him what to say and he sort of gets the gist and says something? A poll.
And Senator, Majority Leader John Thune says that Republicans would welcome you into their party. Do you still draw a red line at ever joining the GOP?
I'm not going to be a Republican. And I would just remind anybody that I've been very clear on that.
See, Crystal, he's not leaving. Yeah, as much as you'd love to push him out, not doing it. He's not doing it. So if that's what you're waiting for, you're going to be waiting a while.
Whether it's the president or the Republicans are putting down perfectly loyal conservative senators, whether it's Cornyn or Cassidy or these people. So I don't think that Republican Party wants a pro-choice, pro-gay, trans communities, pro-union. And, you know, if you look at my voting records, you know, I disagree with my party on some issues like Israel, for example, but, you know, I am a Democrat. And if someone is frustrated in the Democratic Party, I would be frustrated with someone like Bernie Sanders. You know, why aren't people angry? Why they promoted, you know, someone like Plattner, an accused rapist? You know, I never blew up, you know, the Maine Senate race. You know, he had no regrets. So really, Bernie, you have no regret endorsing and proud to stand with an accused rapist, a guy that roughs up his ex-girlfriends, a guy that had a Nazi tattoo on his chest. You know, some of the things that are outrageous as a Democrat are coming from people in this party, and it's not me overall.
Senator, before we go, I do want to ask you about Senator Mitch McConnell, who's been hospitalized for more than 6.
We don't need to listen to that, do we? It's funny, though, that he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016, and now he has all of the criticisms in the world for Bernie Sanders. But I think what should we call it? The money line, the money shot, the line that we want to take away from all of this is that John Fetterman is not becoming a Republican. John Fetterman is not leaving the Democratic Party. So, Crystal, you might want to work on persuading John Fetterman to not be such a piece of shit. Let's see how far that gets you. Or, you know, maybe Democrats are going to primary him. Maybe DSA is going to primary him. I think it's coming up in 2028. We'll see what happens. But there's more. There's more to contend with from the Democratic Party. I told you guys that sometimes I read Politico just to, like, not because I enjoy it, I do not, but just to sort of get a sense of what are donors saying. Are there any interesting tidbits that we should glean from it? Between all the lies, can we read into what we should at least be expecting to see from the Democratic Party? And I saw this article talks about Kamala Harris's next act. Kamala Harris threatens another election run. And I thought it was interesting because they talked about which candidates have reached out to major donors, bundlers, fundraisers, all of these things. And it's not Kamala Harris. It's very interesting. I want to read to you some of those names. Let's get in there. Here we go. I'll make it a little bigger for all of us. But among one key group, major donors, the chatter about Harris is notably more muted. Fundraisers and donor advisors say they've heard little from the former vice president, a marked contrast from other 2028 hopefuls, such as Josh Shapiro, Andy Beshear, and Pete fucking Buttigieg, who have actively cultivated donors and clearly signaled their openness to a bid. I call it the Kamala Mirage, said one Los Angeles-based consultant who is active in national Democratic politics. Her name does not come up. She is not part of the People's Calculus for 2028, whether she runs or not. So, aren't you excited to hear that Josh Shapiro and Pete fucking Buttigieg are reaching out to donors, laying out the fundraisers, making sure they're setting the stage for their campaign, getting ready? Aren't you excited by possibility and hope? What should Pete Buttigieg's slogan be for 2028? Let me know. I'm getting stage fright just trying to think of something that Pete would find acceptable. Speaking of Pete, part of the media circus that he's cultivating before he runs for president is giving interviews that nobody wants to listen to, with answers that no one finds satisfying or persuasive. And much to my dismay, Pete talked about Palestine. Yes, he's trying to find a way to appeal to the left, to the Democratic Party base, who do believe it's a genocide by wide margins. But he can't call it a genocide. No. You can't do that and not alienate all of the Democratic Party donors who make the Democratic Party what it is today. And they're not leaving either. So let's listen to this. Oh my God, I'm already shaking. I'm shaking with fear, with anger, resentment, all of the feelings that Pete Buttigieg inspires from deep within me. I don't want to play it yet, so I'm going to read your comments. That's what I'm going to do. From Seeking Truth and K9, Fetterman leaving the Democratic Party is like the multimillionaire leaving New York City because they got a meager tax hike. Such a good analogy. They're not leaving. They're just huffing, they're puffing, they're not leaving. And as long as they're not leaving, if your agenda is to change the Democratic Party from within, you're going to lose. Or if your agenda is just, if your actual objective is just to inspire hope in people that the Democratic Party could change, when you know very well that it can't, that even 5, 10, 15, 20 DSA members in the House are not changing the Democratic Party, you know that. But you still want to sell people on the idea that it might be possible, just don't leave yet. Just don't quit, join DSA, pay dues to the DSA so that it goes to the Democratic Party. If that's your objective, to lie to people, maybe you're succeeding. But if you want to change the Democratic Party, you haven't done that. And you're not doing that. From Kime, Mayo Pete doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. Pete Booty Juice. Oh, I forgot about that nickname. Booty Juice. Pete Booty Juice hasn't won an election in how long? Biden appointed him to transportation secretary. And we cannot forget how terrible he was as transportation secretary. Oh my God. Remember East Palestine? Remember the railroad workers who still never got paid sick leave that they were asking for? I also find him to be so anti-charismatic, like truly, truly repulsive as an individual. And I should be in his target demographic. I'm a gay millennial. You could never make me vote for Pete Buttigieg. Nope, not happening. Buttigieg polls at 0% with the Black community, and rightfully so. Any Democrat will need that support, and that's just fact, 1000%. That's why AOC is now doing a media tour, talking about voting rights in South Carolina and Tennessee. She's trying to win over the Democratic Party base. African-American voters are the most reliable, most important demographic that she, if she wants higher office, needs to work with and work on. Buttigieg has no chance in hell of winning South Carolina. I love that, I remember there was a moment in 2020 when a poll came out that shows Pete Buttigieg polling at 0% with African-American voters or voters in South Carolina. And I remember the joy that we all felt making fun of him for that. Because of course. And then Buttigieg came out of this actually trying to say, this was so nasty. He tried to say that, oh, African-Americans are just homophobic. That's why he's polling at 0%. You nasty piece of shit. I don't even think you're gay. I've never met a gay person that was so uninteresting and so repulsive. I've met some repulsive gay people, queer people, but none have been as repulsive as Pete Buttigieg. I think he's lying. I think he's married to Chasten. I think it's like what's the opposite of a lavender marriage? Where you marry a gay person to pretend you're gay married, but actually you both have separate bedrooms. You're just doing it for the politics, like Hillary and Bill. But like the gay version of that. The straight version, the straight gay version of that. Like, I think he's lying. I think he's pretending to be gay just to make himself stand out as not just another white straight guy running for president and highly ambitious. I don't think he's gay. You know why I don't think he's gay? There isn't an ounce of sex appeal. Sorry, just my opinion. Allegedly. From Seeking in K9, Pendejo Pete, we'll eat your cheese. Oh God, and all of those rat memes, pizza rat memes. Maybe I do want Pete to run for president. Just at this point, I'm just looking to be entertained. Imagine a debate between Fetterman and Pete Buttigieg. I would have to get so drunk before I watch something like that. But I bet that would be fun. I'm convincing myself. You see how I'm roped back into the Democratic Party? Maybe it will be funny. That's how they get you. Remember that video from Kime? Remember that video when he was still mayor? Yes, I was just thinking. Thank you for bringing that up. And black activists asked him to say Black Lives Matter, and he refused. He's done. He's done. Boat done, sank, and it ain't left the dock. Yes. And it speaks, that video, I think, speaks so well to his entire philosophy, to the extent that he has any, which is you never want to be too left. So whatever whatever someone defines as too left, like saying Black Lives Matter, or like saying that Gaza is going through a genocide, or supporting the ones, whatever is decided as too left, you have to triangulate it into something that's not that, because associating yourself with the left is bad. That's why he never even supported Medicare for all. He triangulated it into Medicare for all, who won it. And then as soon as Biden got in power and he became transportation secretary, has Pete ever talked about Medicare for all, who won it, even once during COVID? The once in a lifetime crisis that I think made a lot of people say, hey, we do want Medicare for all, actually. Medicare for all, who won it? Yeah, we won it. Pete was nowhere to be found on that, because he never cared. He never even cared about that. It was just a way to not support Medicare for all. Even with all his rage, he's still just a rat in a cage. He's never beating the rat allegations. Never. Pendejo Pete. Pendejo Pete. Remember how the media tried to make a thing of him like speaking multiple languages? Such fucking bullshit. Such fucking bullshit. And of course, he's good friends with, in case you didn't know, he's good friends with Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure that's how some of his donor network is connected. So let's listen to him try to triangulate Palestine into a political issue for himself. Let's see. Maybe he'll win us over. I'm open to that. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding.
It appears to me, as a objective observer, that the subject of Israel is now so central to politics. Why? What's going on with the US's relationship with Israel and the public sentiment towards Israel?
Well, it's getting a lot of attention because many very important things are at stake, and they've been put into conflict with each other, right? And each of those things is a valid thing, at least in my opinion. And I'll name three. One, which has become very challenging for...
I'm already pissed off. What is this? Like, you can never get the McKinsey out of the piece of shit consultant. You can take the consultant out of McKinsey, but you can't get the McKinsey out of the consultant. Somehow, it's his brain is wired to just spew out talking points over and over again. He can't help it. Maybe it's a neurological disorder. Maybe he needs Medicare for all. From Seeking Truth and K9, he didn't even want to give railroad workers who wanted it. He had so much power as transportation secretary to actually make changes. Did he do that? No. Didn't do shit. Didn't do fucking shit. Did he hold the railroad companies accountable for causing a chemical disaster in East Palestine and denying their workers paid sick leave? Nope. And if he was let's say, because there are, I guess he wants to present himself as like someone that once you get him in there, maybe he'll be a class trader. Maybe he'll work his connections to actually pass policies that benefit people. But we know, we saw how he acted as transportation secretary under multiple disasters. He did nothing beneficial for working people. That's his record. And being mayor of a tiny ass town in South Bend that didn't even like him. They all hate him. That's why he moved to Michigan.
Many Jewish Americans is the safety of Jews around the world and in America. Theoretically, that could be separated from what's happening in Israel and Palestine. But in the real world, there's been a relationship between what's going on there.
So what's he centering here, first and foremost, when he's talking about Palestine? I think we know what he's centering here and who he's not centering.
And an explosion in anti-Semitism that has many American Jewish families afraid for their safety. Another thing is the safety and dignity of...
Are Palestinians in Gaza who are being genocided, are they anti-Semitic? Is that why they deserve to die by American bombs? that did not stop when you were a cabinet member under Biden who was shipping those bombs every 48 hours, and you said nothing? Nothing? Did nothing to stop it? This is the oldest Zionist trick in the playbook. When people ask you about Palestinians suffering under unequal, unjust laws, or being genocided and having violence committed against them, by the so-called by the apartheid Jewish state, they immediately redirect the conversation to anti-Semitism. That's nasty.
Palestinian people who in Gaza, but not only in Gaza, have been subjected to horrific violence and, in my opinion, war crimes.
That you supported. You worked for the president who started this genocide. Oh my God.
And alongside that, there is the safety and dignity of people in Israel who we have a security relationship with as a country and have since the Jewish state of Israel was founded.
A security relationship. Isn't that an interesting way to frame this? Security relationship. You mean they buy all of their weapons from American defense companies? That's what you mean. Josh Paul, who worked for the State Department and resigned, unlike you rat piece of shit, he had a little bit of conviction. He said that every single plane that flies over Gaza and drops these bombs is American-made, American-fueled, American-supplied. It's America's genocide. And you see here that Pete, being Pete, doesn't say genocide, but he did call it war crimes. War crimes have been committed by who? By who? Who committed these war crimes? Why don't you spell that out? Oh yeah, it was your boss. You're not gonna name Genocide Joe. Triangulating motherfucker.
The future and survival of Israel as a Jewish state. And
oh, he knows. He knows that the pro-Palestine movement is saying, we want one equal state from the river to the sea, regardless of religion. We don't want apartheid. He's like, no. Israel needs to survive as a Jewish state. Which means Pete supports ethno-supremacy, theocracy, whatever keeps defense companies happy. Whatever keeps the bombs flowing, the flow of bombs continuing. The survival. Just like white supremacists and the way they talked about South Africa. Exactly the same. The survival of apartheid South Africa is at stake because we can't let Black people vote. We cannot. How will we survive? I hope your political career does not survive. I hope that beard does not survive. I hope that mustache does not survive. You repulsive rat. From Kime here. Blows raspberries at booty juice. He, in his opinion, are as useful as an a-hole in your forearm. I think that's well said. I can't imagine someone less equipped to handle the moment we're in, or to even respond to the Democratic Party base and speak to the Democratic Party base in ways that, because I'm talking about voters. I'm not talking about the Democratic Party. I'm talking about voters. They want something that's anything but this. And they've been so clear about that. But Pete doesn't know how to be anything except an empty suit, spewing bullshit. It's almost impressive. Like he can't even lie himself into being more appealing, you know what I mean? Because usually, There are people who just lie better. Trump lied and said, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine. Didn't happen. But he knew enough about what voters were interested in, that they wanted peace, they wanted wars to end. He knew enough to pay lip service to that and lie to them. Pete, it's what they say about people being book smart but not street smart. I don't even think Pete is book smart, to be very clear. I think he was made in the lab. I think he's synthetic. You can't, especially now that we have AI everywhere. AI is more human than Pete Buttigieg. I mean it. I mean it.
And a country that is still responding to the worst day of the most violence against Jews since the Holocaust.
The death toll in Gaza is so much higher at this point, multiplied by how many people died. Like, it's unbelievable that he thinks this is going to sell. I should love it. I should love it.
Those three things, I believe, in principle, can be honored at the same time. In fact, I believe in principle they have to be honored at the same time.
Is that what Netanyahu wants?
No, I don't think he is remotely interested in the safety and dignity and security of Palestinian people. I think he believes that he would be better off if they didn't exist. Or at the very least, he doesn't want them around. Right? Yeah. And so we see a policy which obviously has led to what it did in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, which gets less attention, maybe because there's been fewer deaths there, but pretty horrific behavior and conduct and violence from settlers. That is part of a project of making it impossible for there to be a secure, viable Palestinian state.
So what does Netanyahu want in the region?
Well, I don't know that I'm much more capable of seeing into the mind of Netanyahu than I am seeing into the mind of Trump. But looking into his choices, it seems that he wants to be able to assert domination of any other regional player, and something that is beyond just security and safety for the people of Israel, which is something that I believe in and something I think is hard to argue with, but something else, which is a...
So you see, Pete here is not even entertaining the idea of the one-state solution or equality from the river to the sea. He's not interested in that. He's paying lip service to the, oh, so bad what's happening in the West Bank, so bad. It's all Netanyahu's fault. It's so bad. The problem for Pete and his ilk is not Zionism. No, no, no. No, no, no. It's almost, this is to show you, I mean, Pete as a whole, because Pete is nobody, right? He represents what a coalition of donors, bundlers, fundraisers, rich, wealthy, elite strategists, people who are, he's representing their point of view and he's pandering to them. They are his constituency. And you can see how resistant all of them are, Democrats, to any rethinking of whether Zionism is a defensible ideology. They're not even entertaining that. They're not entertaining that, even though Rashida Tlaib, the most popular leftist politician in America, in my opinion, they're not even entertaining her support for the one-state solution and whether the Democratic Party should adopt that as part of their vision and belief in democratic values. It's all the same bullshit that you've been hearing from the 60s. About how everything is complicated, everything is so hard, everything is Netanyahu's fault. And one day in the future that we have not decided on, there will maybe eventually be no commitments, a secure, viable Palestinian state. No pressure, though. It's the exact same bullshit. Nothing changed. A genocide happened, and still these politicians are so, the Democratic Party apparatus that Pete represents is so resistant to, and it's impossible to, it's unbendable, their commitment to Zionism. and imperialism and capitalism, which is all connected. From Kima here, Israel's October 7 is Gaza's 24/7, Nurdin Kiswani. Very well said. Very well said. And that's why I think Zionism really is breaking the Democratic Party, because you really can't flatten these issues over or like pretend. It's really impossible to pretend or to sell this idea that what Israel is doing is in any way justified or comparable to the suffering Palestinians have been going under. Like it's Pete here is trying to present, he's doing both sides, right? But that mold is broken to anybody with eyes. But nothing changed for him, at least.
Project of taking over what is called Greater Israel in his ideology, in his worldview.
Greater Israel.
Yeah, Eretz Israel, which is a vision that does not have a lot of room for Palestinians anywhere between the river and the sea. He won't say it in those terms, but if you look at his actions, it is hard to believe that he is comfortable with anything less.
What's your take on how Trump has treated Netanyahu in that relationship? Is that the relationship you would have had?
Yes. That's the exact same relationship Biden had. And the way they manage discontent from the base, Trump and Biden, is to leak to Axios. Oh, Biden is so mad at Netanyahu. Oh, Trump in a private meeting said, fuck Netanyahu. Why is he doing this? Oh, there's a leak. Oh, hot off the presses. They weaponize Politico and Axios like they're fucking gossip magazines. And you know how it's so obvious to all of us now? It's because we are all in some ways literate in terms of celebrity culture. We know how celebrities use the media, leak to all of these outlets. Page 6, whenever they want to, rebrand, or they have a controversy that's following them and they want to change the narrative. Politicians have been doing that for decades. They do the exact same thing. I think we're all a little bit smarter than Pete is giving us credit for. A lot smarter, I should say. Sorry, bendejo. Not sorry. I also wanted to share this from another friend of the show and rising Democratic star, or someone who wants to position himself for president. Who am I talking about? Who am I talking about? Can you guess? It's a Zionist, Rahm Emanuel, who covered up the murder of Laquan McDonald in Chicago. Yeah, he wants to be president. His dad was a Zionist terrorist. So, back to Crystal's point that the Democratic Party can be taken over from within. You can wrestle it from the hands of corporatists and nasty people like Pete Buttigieg and John Fetterman and Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel is not leaving the Democratic Party. Oh no, he's gonna fight it. So this is what Rahm Emanuel said about a conversation he had with Zoran Mamdani. First of all, if I'm Zoran, I have a soft spot for Zoran because he supports the one-state solution. That's my bugaboo. Rahm Emanuel does not. No. So he had a conversation with Mamdani about that. If I were Zoran, I would not have picked up the phone. I would have redirected it to... I would have given him a false number or a fake number. But Rahm Emanuel, here's what he said about his conversation with Zoran. It's only 30 seconds, but brace yourself. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
You had a meeting where quite strong words were spoken between you and Mayor Mamdani in New York.
I said, when you're mayor, time goes faster and you got to make choices. What's an A, what's a B? when we got to the Middle East, I said, look, you are your father's son. I'm my father's son. You chant a river to the sea. And that means there will never be a Jewish homeland for Jews who have faced the Holocaust. And I said, I want you to hear this over my dead body.
You had a meeting where quite strong words were spoken between you and Mayor Mam.
You see, Rahm Emanuel here, he's letting you know that he understands that from the river to the sea means equal rights for all people, and that he's against that. And he's a Democrat. How can you have a coalition that includes Zoran Mamdani, John Fetterman, Rahm Emanuel, and end up through that process with something that looks like justice for Palestinians? Rahm Emanuel is not leaving the Democratic Party. Rahm Emanuel has a lot of established connections in the Democratic Party with donors, with people from his time as mayor, from his time as ambassador under Biden. Do you think Rahm Emanuel would let the Democratic Party adopt, even just as a policy position, a fake policy commitment, the way Biden fake supported a $15 wage? Do you think he would let the Democratic Party adopt a commitment to the one-state solution and equal rights from the river to the sea and the return of all Palestinian refugees? If John Fetterman is awake, do you think he's going to allow that? Do you think Rahm is going to allow that? It's a losing strategy to try to change the Democratic Party from within, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Fuck, I hope I'm wrong, because the prospects for a third party don't look good. Just going to be real. So I wanted to share this tweet just to explain, I guess, my personal reason for not being interested in joining DSA or changing it from within. You know, and I think this is kind of, I guess, more specific to me personally. I don't think this applies to most people, but just sharing with you my bias and why I'm not interested. The DSA had a vote on a resolution of whether DSA should support Rashida Tlaib's the same solution that she supports: one equal state from the river to the sea and the right of return of all Palestinian refugees and their descendants. And DSA voted it down, that resolution. So this is from Sarah. Here, I think she was the one who actually co-authored the resolution in support of one equal state. I remain really sad DSA voted down the resolution for a one-state position at our convention. I think a single secular state is the only viable solution, and having such a position formally codified would be extremely important as we move towards 2028 and a possible President AOC. Not only is this stance morally correct morally, it's simply the only actual viable policy solution. Yeah, and that resolution failed. DSA, in case you haven't known, also has Zionists as part of the organization. I think having a commitment to the one-state solution as part of DSA's platform would have made them a lot more appealing to me, because then you're actually holding your candidates, your elected candidates, accountable to that position. And it shows that you're meeting your one elected Palestinian American Congress member, that you're following their lead. Congressmember Rashida Tlaib, my president. But they couldn't even get their fucking act together to support the one-state solution. So not seeing that you're not DSA, you're not getting at this point. Maybe in the future, I'm gonna leave the door open against my better judgment. But at this moment, the one-state solution is my litmus test, proudly so, and you're not getting my endorsement. Ryan, I know this is heartbreaking for you, isn't it?
Oh,
it's just false,
but
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
I think you're heartbroken by that. You want me on the inside. You just don't want to admit it. I think you like me more than you let on.
Oh.
It's just false,
But
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
Fine, okay, fine. I won't say that again. Last thing I wanted to share. Thank you for being with me, guys. I'm going to share this clip from friend of the show, Emma Vigeland. They had a caller calling into the Majority Report asking, hey, Emma, couldn't you ask AOC one question about Gaza? Just one, not two. What's going on? What's happening? Couldn't you take a break from being a sad little groupie and ask AOC a question that wasn't just, oh my God, Madam President, sorry. I'm so embarrassed for Emma. I'm feeling secondhand cringe just thinking about that interview. So I'm going to read your comments. From Seeking Truth and K9, Netanyahu was with Boston Consulting Group, and Bendejo Pete was with McKinsey. Oh, I didn't know that about Netanyahu. That's interesting. Ooh. It's a situation of a junior consultant looking up to a partner at a consulting firm. Ooh. Ooh, gross. Ooh. Ooh. If I had a political party, consultants would be banned from joining. That's my hot take. Neither Ram nor Buttigieg have a shot in hell for presidency. So there's nothing they can say that holds any semblance of weight. Just gassed up white man drunk on their own hubris and self-importance. That's so true. Thank you, Kime. Thank you for putting that in perspective. There's no chance in hell for Rahm Emanuel. I mean, he has to be such a narcissist to think that anybody's electing him to anything. After his record as mayor of Chicago, again covering up the murder of an unarmed black man, Laquan McDonald, covering that up. That's not going to go over well with leftists or progressives or anybody in South Carolina or anybody with a conscience. Why is he doing this? I think maybe he just likes the media attention. You know, maybe he's one of those old people that I was talking about that look for a hobby. Rahm Emanuel is like, you know what? I'm like, what is he, 70? I'm in my 70s. I don't have anything to do. I bored myself out of all the games I'm playing on my phone. My grandkids won't talk to me. My kids won't talk to me. I should run for president. That's going to give me some fun, some interview time. He's bored. He's just rich and bored. There's nothing more dangerous than bored rich people who like politics. From Kime here, never have a shot as a VP. The only way they will ever realize power again is if they are appointed to a position. That's so true. I can see it maybe strong, maybe for Buttigieg, but Rahm is old news from the old guard. 1,000%. 1,000%. I think you're completely right. He would have to be appointed like as ambassador to Fiji or something. Actually, is Fiji? No, Fiji is a U.S. territory. Ambassador to... Where do we want to send Rahm Emanuel? Something far. Tajikistan? Ram, would you consider being ambassador to Tajikistan instead of your... No, because then he can't do media interviews and like have smoke blown up his ass. He wants to be important. I guess we can take solace in the fact that he'll never be elected to anything. From Seeking Truth and K9, Rahm was a jailer in Chicago, just like Goldberg was a jailer in occupied Palestine. I think you're in Seeking Truth is referring to Jeffrey Goldberg, friend of the show, who was a prison guard in Palestine, an IDF prison guard, IOF. Rahm is an example of colonialism coming home. Yeah. Ay. Kime here has a suggestion for Rahm Emanuel. The Maldives. They banned all Israelis from entering the country, LOL. ambassador to the Maldives. I actually think Pete's dad, I could be wrong on that. Actually, no, I think I might be wrong. Pete's dad is from Montenegro, which could be wrong in terms of geography. Yeah, I shouldn't say if it's close or not to the Maldives. Let me know in the chat if you know. So Emma responding to why she couldn't press an elected official with even one question about Palestine. Let's hear it from her.
Kevin from Madison. AOC spoke at the Democratic Convention and said they were tirelessly working to end the violence and genocide. What the Democrats were doing in 2024 was not the meaning of tirelessly. More on Gaza should have been in that interview. I hear you. You know, I think she's pretty great on this issue.
I hear you. I see you. I validate your feelings. And I'm going to give you some bullshit right now. I'm going to give you some straight up bullshit. Emma is a real Democrat.
I hear you. You know, I think she's pretty great on this issue, on the substance. Like,
her voting record sucks. She voted for a resolution conflating anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, not in 2018, during the genocide. She endorsed Biden, Genocide Joe, to the very fucking end. Even 2 days before he dropped out, she was still arguing with leftists, with progressives, telling everybody that you have to unite behind Joe.
There are probably 3 or 4 Democrats that maybe have a better record on Palestine.
AOC stenographers love to say this. They love to say, well, she's one of 4 people who are really good on this issue. No, the Democratic Party is shit on this issue. Except Rashida Tlaib, none of them are good on it. None of them. But they're reframing it as, oh no, she's not as bad as some other people. She's not as bad as some other people. It's all about marketing to these people.
Than her, but her record on Palestine also was very, very good prior to October 7th.
In what world? So I think what's sort of unspoken here is that Emma is sort of saying, well, after October 7, AOC's record on Palestine has really been bad shit. But before the genocide, it was a little bit better. That's what she's trying to say. Doesn't that show you she's not a leader? She's doing the opposite of how she's acting the opposite way of how a leader who cares about Palestine should act, which is when the votes are hard, you vote the right way. You don't vote for Iron Dome funding while there's a genocide happening. The willingness to lie on AOC's behalf will never not be astounding to me because Emma is smart. She knows what she's doing. She's trying to sort of meet this very astute caller or whatever, a fan of the show who was writing in. She's trying to sort of bring them along. I hear you, but AOC saying something at the DNC stage is not as important as her voting record. Oh, totally agree, Emma, except her voting record sucks too. And you're lying about that. It's so pathetic. I almost wonder if Emma has, I don't mean to do this, but like, it's almost like she has a crush on AOC. And maybe not a sexual crush. Maybe it's a kind of awe, because you know how if there's someone you really admire or like as a celebrity, if you like sports, I don't like sports, but if you like sports, people who adore sports, who watch sports for fun, when they meet a baseball player or a basketball player and they get really nervous, and all of a sudden they say things that make them sound like stupid and like a fan. Emma is an AOC #1 fan. And that's the #1 guiding principle for how she defends her from constructive criticism and why AOC feels so comfortable going on the Majority Report and never really being asked an interesting question. From Seeking Truth and K9. Emma is the 2026 version of Simone Sanders. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, friend of the show. What a throwback. Yeah, you have to. Your job as I think Ryan suffers from this mental illness too, where Emma and Ryan, I think, see themselves as unpaid strategists. Their job is to communicate or to bridge over what the public thinks and feels about elected representatives, and they are sort of in between, so they see it as a responsibility to lie on elected politicians' behalfs because they have access and they really love the access. But it's leading to some very embarrassing territory like this, where they just flat out lie about AOC's record. AOC's record on Palestine is terrible. Voting to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is bad. Voting against an amendment that would cut Iron Dome funding is bad. Why is that so hard to say while still being a fan like you are of AOC? I don't get it. Are you scared of AOC, Emma? Are you scared she's never going to talk to you again? It's embarrassing. I've only seen people who are obsessed with celebrities act this way. It's sad. It's sad. From Kime here, bar of Seeking Truth in K9. Remember when Simone was all, "That's your president, baby," when they were discussing Marianne Williamson and Cenk and the other people who ran in a primary against Genocide Joe? Oh my God, I forgot about that. That's your president, baby. Oh my God, I even forgot about Cenk running for president. I think I wanted to forget. I think I tried to forget. From Seeking Truth, yes, as soon as I saw Simone Sanders on MSNBC or CNN over and over again, I knew opportunism had taken place. Oof.
Too. She was trying to get Democrats elected, and I'm sure that quote is not gonna, it's gonna be difficult for her to distance herself from it. But I think her record overall is the more important thing.
I think her record overall, yeah, that's the more important thing. It's going to be hard for her to distance herself from it. The question, Emma, was not why not asking AOC when she was in your fucking studio one question about Palestine or challenging her on her actual voting record that you think is so amazing. Yeah. I'm just a silly little gal. I was just hanging out with my buddy. Fucking useless. That was a bad interview on the Majority Report, right, Ryan?
Oh,
It's just false,
but
false, false,
it's not false.
Ryan, am I ever going to agree with you about anything? I want to find common ground. We're stronger together, Ryan. We're stronger together.
Oh,
It's just false,
but
false, false,
it's not false.
Okay, I think you're just having a bad night, Ryan. So I'm gonna put you to sleep. Kime here says, correction, the Misanthropy Report. Ugh. I do prefer Emma to Sam. I don't watch the Majority Report. I have a life and self-respect. But I do. If I had to choose a lesser evil, I would choose Emma over Sam. Sam is just a nasty piece of shit. I was trying to find the clip of Sam berating a Palestinian American voter for having reservations about voting for Holocaust terrorists in 2024. I couldn't find the clip. And also I don't know how relevant it is. I just thought it was so overtly disgusting to see how much they prioritize their access to the Democratic Party over even real voters, real people with connection to Palestine and concern about Democratic Party politicians who have been who have executed this genocide, and still watching Sam fucking Cedar telling them, well, but Trump is worse, so you're going to vote for, so you have to vote for Harris because Trump worse. You're literally talking to somebody who has family members who suffered who suffer right now because of the Biden-Harris administration's policies. It was just completely insane. But these people really do prioritize their proximity to power over anything else, including their own viewers, which I think is pathetic. Right, Ryan?
Oh,
It's just false,
but
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
God, I thought one day you and I, Ryan, we're gonna agree on something. We're gonna agree on something.
Oh,
It's just false,
but
false,
no,
false,
it's not false.
You say that now, but I think a change is gonna come. Thank you for joining me, guys. I really love you. I really appreciate you. And you know what I say. You know what I always say. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea.